Hey there, I'm Han.
And I'm Kat, and we're Brews and Reviews. Today we are bringing you our February wrap-up, because it's the end of February and we're wrapping things up.
Yeah.
That's how that tends to work.
That's how it rolls. How we roll. Not how it rolls, how we roll.
Yeah. Roll
You know
it.
what I mean?
Yeah. So, sorry if our energy is a little bit crazy today. We just took part in Read by Zoe's 24-hour readathon yesterday, and we're both a little bit burnt out, so...
who would have thought reading could be so exhausting?
It really is. Like, it was a lot of fun, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. If you want to do that readathon, it was really good, and we had a lot of fun doing
Yeah.
it. It's just now we're really tired, so if we look a little bit like, that's why. So, this month we actually read 3 books together, kind of.
Yeah.
We did 2 buddy read books and 1... Why am I trying to hold this finger up? As if this finger wants to stay up. And 1 that was to do with the Shadowhunters read-along that we've been doing. Yeah. So, without further ado...
So the first book was City of Ashes by Santa Clare.
Yeah.
And... yeah, well, we both finished this in February, that's why we're doing it in February wrap-up.
Yeah. That is the reason why. Yeah. Anyway, right. I found this really interesting because I really hated this book when I first read it. I really hated it. I thought it's exactly the same as the first book. Did not need to happen. I was so bored. And there's the thing that happens in it where, like, a character is teased to die and then they don't die.
About 10,000 times.
Yeah. It happens again and again and again, and you're like, I don't care anymore because I knew they're not going to die because you, like, tried to troll me like 3 times and I just don't believe you. So that was my first impression of City of Ashes the first time I read it. Now, on this read-along that we've been doing, I reread it and I didn't have that hang-up about that character teased death situation because obviously I knew what was going to happen, so I could kind of ignore it. I could kind of focus on all of, like, the other things that were happening.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm honest, I still don't think this book necessarily needs to have happened. Like, I feel like you could condense bits of this book into the first and third book, and then the series would have been stronger, like, overall. But
Definitely.
I liked it a lot more this time. I gave it a higher rating than I gave it last time, and I actually just enjoyed it. So, I mean, thanks, Emma Books, for making me read that book again in this context. And thanks, Hannah, for making me read this book again in that context. Because I wouldn't have enjoyed that, and I'd have constantly been calling that one out as the worst one.
Yeah.
And I actually enjoyed it a lot more the second time around.
Don't get me wrong, this is the weakest book for me, I think.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one that I enjoyed least. Because I do agree with what you say, it doesn't particularly need to happen, does it?
You could just condense it into the
Yeah,
other
completely.
books.
But I still loved it.
The next book that we read was the start of a buddy read with Faye from Mystery Date with a Book. We read Legend by Marie Lu.
It was brilliant.
Yeah, it was. It was a great book.
Like, literally, straight away, as soon as we started reading it, we were like, wow. Wow, 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 wow. And then every time our chapters would finish, it would leave it on, like, such a cliffhanger, and it'd be like, no! Why do we have to end it now? Why can't we just keep reading? Just one more chapter, but we didn't. We held in there, but it was super all the way through.
Yeah. So, Legend is basically the story of a boy called Day who is, like, a fugitive from the Republic, which is basically like the United States is split into 2 separate countries. One's called the Republic and one's called the Colonies. They're at war. The Republic do bad things to small children, and Day is, like, rebelling against that. And then there's also the story of June, whose brother gets murdered.
She works for the Republic.
Yeah, and she starts to try and track down Day. And I'm not going to say any more because, you know, spoilers and things, but it was really good.
Brilliant.
Like, we liked it so much that we decided we were going to continue this buddy read for the whole series.
It was that good. We just generally wanted to carry it on straight away. So, literally the day after, we were like, yeah, okay, let's do this.
So then we read Prodigy. Yeah. So we started Legend and we read, like, certain number of chapters throughout the month, and then we started Prodigy. And we actually only just finished Prodigy before the end of the month.
Yes.
So we're currently reading Champion in the start of March, and We're about...
Stuff has gone down.
Yeah, we're like 2 chapters from the end. Not 2 chapters, but 2 days worth of chapters. And, like, let me tell you, I'm not ready for this emotional breakdown that I'm sure is about to happen. We're not going to tell you what happens in Prodigy, because obviously it follows straight on from Legend. One thing that I really loved about this series, though, is that it doesn't go through that whole, this is what happened in the last book. And it, like, you know those beginning chapters where some books, like, run it on and you're like, why are you telling me? I've just read it. I've just read it. I know these things. And this one feels like it could be just one story that flows, and it's just separated into 3 books, and I love it.
Yeah.
Also, Dave's a sweetheart.
Oh, he's so nice. He's so cute.
Yeah.
He's lovely.
I love him.
So, in February, I also finished The Half-Blood Prince, and obviously I've been reading these since, like, December. I finished it, and I loved it. It was brilliant, and it just makes me happy. I mean, actually, it's a sad book.
Yeah. It's like the start of, like, the really sad ones, isn't it?
Yeah, but the world, I do still love it, even though it's terrible. But I love it. And yeah, I just really enjoyed reading it again. I'm so glad in December we did choose to do it.
Well, yeah.
I think it was nice.
So, the next book that I read this month was King Beyond the Gate by David Gemmell. This is the 2nd book that David Gemmell wrote in his Draenei series. Now, story time about how this book was read this month, because this is a reread for me. You know, Draenei series, one of my all-time favourite series, so obviously I know what happens. Now, last month, well, January, I got my friend, my very good friend, to read Legend, and he loved it, and he read it really quickly, and he was like, right, next one. And I was like, oh, you're going to read King Beyond the Gate? Let me read King Beyond the Gate too. We'll read it together. And so I started reading it, and, like, he'd started reading it, and he was like, oh, by the way, I'm already on page 150. And I was like, I'll catch up. And then I told him next day that I'd, like, caught up, and he was like, oh, I finished it.
To be fair, I can remember when you told me and you were a little bit gutted, you were like, oh.
I wanted to read it too, I wanted to enjoy it with you. And he'd finished it because he enjoyed it, so...
I mean, at least he enjoyed it.
Yeah.
That's a good part about it.
I mean, the best thing is he bought Waylander and Waylander 2, because he accidentally bought Waylander 2 first. Why you do that? So... I bought Waylander on audiobook because I'm like, you ain't beating me this time. We read this together. So yeah, King Beyond the Gate is set 100 years after Legend. It is kind of like the Draenei have been taken over by this ruler who basically makes like people/animal mutations called joinings, and they are nasty and kill people, and basically the Draenei are in the shit. And the main character, Tanaka Khan, is like the descendants of the Earl of Bronze and the leader of the Nadir, so everybody kind of hates him, but he's like really cool, and it's just like all these people are just so they're in hopeless situations, and I really like that about David Gemmell's books, because he just sort of, he makes you believe in like how these people are gonna survive these hopeless situations, and you're like, oh, no, I really want you to do it, and like, yeah, it's like he just writes battles amazingly. So if you like someone who can write fantasy battles,
David Gemmell is the guy for you.
Yes, he is.
I also read Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows in February as well, and I finally finished the Harry Potter series, and it was great. There's just not really much I can say about it. Everyone knows what Harry Potter is, and I'm pretty damn sure everyone in this entire world loves it. If you don't, then what are you doing? What are you actually doing with your life?
You need to get on that.
Yeah, it needs to be sorted out, because Harry Potter is amazing. But yeah, it gave me all the feels, it really did. Like sad, happy, just excited, like nervous, everything. And it was brilliant to go through that adventure with him again, so yeah.
Next up, we have 4th of July by James Patterson and Maxine Petro. Now, okay, so I listened to this on audiobook because I bought the first 6 of these in like a box set, and this one came in like small format, and I'm like, I'm not up for your small pages, small writing. I don't want that. So I just bought it on audiobook, and it was only 7 hours, and it took me a long time to read it. This book is the 4th in the Women's Murder Club series, and I mean, I know they're not great. They've never been great, but this one was too much about the main character's personal life. There was no, murder. I come here for murder. I came here for, investigation and, tracking down killers. This one was mostly centered around a trial because she was stupid, she's this detective, she's in charge of her department, right?
Right.
So she goes out, she's off duty, she goes out, has a few cocktails, she's had a bit to drink, and then her partner calls her up and says, let's go, there's a murder, this vehicle's been spotted, we have to go now. So she's like, okay, I'll come, gets in the car, and he's like, have you been drinking? And she's like, yes. And he's like, have the coffee, this will be fine. They track down the things, spoiler, she gets shot. She shoots 2 people, her partner gets shot, and then she gets sued because she was drunk. Eh?
You wouldn't have done it if you were drunk, would you?
No. Well, I mean, she wasn't technically drunk. She'd had 2 drinks, but, officially she is drunk because she's over the limit. But, I mean, you've had 2 cocktails, maybe just don't get your gun out.
Yeah.
I mean, she did get shot first, but, still. It's just, are you surprised that you've been sued because you shot someone while you were drunk? And then, yeah, there was a whole other thing going on, and just a lot of it was about her personal life, and I wasn't there for that. I didn't care. So I'm gonna read the next one and hope that it gets better. But this one, I would give a miss if you're gonna read this series because it's boring.
I also read the second of the Wayward Children series this month, which was Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Shannon Maguire. And I actually really enjoyed it. It follows the characters Jack and Jill who feature in the first one, and it's their backstory, it's the world that they go into, and how they're brought up first as children, and then how they change as people into this world that they definitely do belong in, don't they, I feel?
Yeah, they seem to work very well in that world. I mean,
yeah.
Well, Jill doesn't as much.
No.
Jill's got some problems.
She has. But I thought the world was so cool. I really liked it. I really like Jack as a character. I think she's brilliant. Jill, kind of off a rocker a little bit, she's a bit crazy.
Which, I mean, I think you know from the first book, though, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
You get her personality there, so...
But I think it's nice to see that build up to it and how that happens.
And why.
Yeah, because when I read the first one, they were the ones that really intrigued me, and I really liked the sound of their world. I liked Christopher as well and Cade, but yeah, it was Jack that drew me, so I was I'm really excited to read it, and it was brilliant.
We would end up in different worlds.
We would.
We would defo end up in different worlds.
All I can say is I will not end up in that candy world, right? Because I also read the third one, which is Beneath the Sugar Sky.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you what, that sweet world, don't get it right, I love cake, I love sweets, I love chocolate, anything like that, right? Sometimes I get cravings to just literally buy some icing, in a tube, and literally just pour it into my mouth and eat it.
She's not lying. She's not. It's gross.
I will literally make cake mix just to eat cake mix. That is how much I love stuff like that. But the thought of being in that world,
yes,
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. It's a horrible world. But yeah, so anyway, the third one is about, it goes back to kind of the school that features in the first one, where all, people who have come back from the worlds that they went to, and, in the hope of then finding their door or adjusting to normal life to go there, because obviously they're around people who know what it's like. And then all of a sudden this person appears from the sky and drops into a pond, and she's disappearing. She's oh, and stuff basically goes down. So they have to go through all these different worlds to try and help this girl not die, basically. And I liked. Oh, what was that? So it was really nice to go into different worlds, because you had a normal world. You also got to go into Nancy's world,
The underworld.
The other world.
The underworld!
Whatever it is.
Literally, my favourite part of the book. The underworld. The dark world's my fave.
Don't get me wrong, I liked, was it Hades? I liked him.
He's not. What is he? Is he actually called Hades? He's just the king of the underworld.
Oh, the king of the underworld, whoever he is.
Yeah.
It's technically Hades, though, isn't it?
Well, depends on the mythology of it, because there's like many different.
Well, anyway, the king of the underworld. He was kind of cool. I don't know. It was probably my least favourite. I was listening to it just for the sake of listening to it, just so I could finish it, I think. So the main character in this book is Cora. And she's come from like a mermaid world, but the thing I don't like about her, and I think it just brings the whole book down, is that she portrays herself, and this is her words, as a fat girl. And it is a constant stream of consciousness that runs throughout the book, and it, no matter what happens, she always brings it back to that she's fat. And it's like, it doesn't need to be like that, even if it's got nothing to do with it. She's like, oh, is that because he thinks I'm fat, or do you know what I mean? And it was just a bit too much.
I've been a fat girl, and like yeah, okay, sure, sometimes you have the insecurities and it's like, yeah, okay, like, oh, I wonder if I'm like a bit like that, but she's constantly thinking, oh my god, everybody is looking at me, everybody thinks I'm massive, I've bumped into a guy, oh my god, he's gonna be like, you're a whale. What? You just bumped into someone?
Yeah.
It was just a bit too much. It was like, you can portray insecurity, and I do think Sinead Maguire is very good at portraying insecurities and things like that. It's just, I think it was a little bit overdone in that book. Definitely.
And it kind of brought it down a little bit for me. It was okay of a book, don't get me wrong, but I think I did the first one 4, second 5 stars, and the third 3 stars, I think. It was okay, like, you know, I finished it and I got through it, but yeah, it was a bit.
It wasn't as sweet as it wanted to be.
No.
Next up, I read City of Glass by Cassandra Clare. Again, part of that read-along. I read this first and then now you are reading it, hence the bookmark that is in there. I actually listened to this book because I was in the mood for like a YA audiobook and I had a credit to spare and I was like, well, I'm going to read this, so I'm going to listen to it because I've heard the audiobooks are, you know, pretty good. And I actually quite liked it. Like, this is my favourite of the books in the Mortal Instruments series so far, and it was the first time I read it, because I feel like, although the beginning is a tiny bit slow, when you get to, like, the end half, it's like what I wanted this series to be.
Yeah.
Like, it becomes this huge world, this huge battle, and you're like, yes, I'm so there for that, and everything that happens is so monumental.
And like, there's a few twists and turns that, you know, kind of get you by surprise.
Yeah.
It's one of my favourites, I think.
It's
like,
so good.
It's up there with my favourites.
Now, disclaimer though, still hate Jace. Still hate Jace. He literally says in this book, hurting other people is almost as good as hurting himself right now, and then he's an asshole. So, Jace, go be a dick somewhere else, because if you weren't in this book, treating people like you're treating people, everybody would have a way happier time. Also, if Clary and Jace were just, like, their love story didn't happen in any of these books, I'd be, like, way more happy and way more interested in all of them. Like, I'm sorry. I know that's a controversial opinion, but, like, I'd like to hear about the world, please, not Jace.
See, I think you do hear a lot about the world.
Like, but more about the world, not at all anything about Jace. Like, Jace, bye-bye. Bye-bye now. See you later. Don't come back. I'm, like, he annoys me. Like, he's just nasty to everybody. It's like everything he touches goes down the shithole. Do you know why? Because you're a shit person. That's why. That's why. He's just nasty to people and not, like, I wouldn't be around that sort of person. Like, you can try and play, like, the redemption card, like, oh, it's just because of his dad. No. No, it isn't just because of his dad. He is just nasty to people. Nasty. Sorry for the rant, but, like, he angers me. He angers me. Like, he does. He drives me nuts. I just, I want to like it, and I feel like I'd love it if he wasn't there. Or just wasn't an asshole. Like, please work on this, Jace.
Yeah.
Go to therapy or something. And the final book that I read this month was The Magician's Guild by Trudy Canavan. Canavan? This book is about magicians. It's a high fantasy book set in this world where magicians tend to come from like the upper class rich houses, and there are no magicians from like the slum sectors. And then one day they do this thing called the Purge every year, where they just basically clear out all the poor people because reasons. And there's this girl called Sonia who joins up with some other people, and they start throwing rocks at the magicians who are clearing people out, and Sonia's rock penetrates through the magician's magic and hits one of the magicians, and then a huge manhunt is launched to try and find her, because the only way she could have penetrated that is using magic. I just, like, I loved it. I read it so fast. I remember why I loved it. And there was a bit, like, the hunt took a lot longer than I remember it taking. And like I was saying about Prodigy, like, Legend and everything, feeling like it was, like, one long book, I remembered this series as, like, one long book.
Yeah, well, we were talking about this, weren't we? Like,
yeah.
I can't think where one book ends and the next begins.
Yeah.
Like, they all run into it because they flow so easy, and the story just keeps going, doesn't it? And there's no break, or there's no, like, slow bits. It's just
carries on like a natural progression. It's really good. I really liked it, and I'm so glad I read it. I'm so happy, because I'm going to reread the next one and the next two this month, because I really want to continue with it, and I got so into it, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So I did say in our January wrap-up that my goal for this month was to read books that were only over 400 pages, and I just thought I'd let you know how that went. Because it, didn't go that well. Well, it sort of did. So, like, obviously Legend, was under 300, it was under 400 pages.
Yeah.
But that was a buddy read, so that was okay, and then we decided to carry that on. So Prodigy is under 400 pages as well. So that's 2 books that didn't count for that. However, the other 5 books that I read were all over 400 pages. So, like, I feel like that was a successful, larger type book reading month.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd let you all know how that went, because it surprised me.
And yay for me reading 7 books.
High five.
I know, whoop whoop. I was like, get in there, I can do this.
Yes.
So yeah, I was very, very impressed with myself this month. I'm very proud. So that was it for our February wrap-up. I think we did a good month.
Yeah, it was alright, yeah.
Overall, it was a good month. And I'm excited to finish Champion. I think that's going to be...
It's going to be a good one.
It is.
I feel like sadness is oncoming though. Nobody tell us, because I'll be like, I'll come for you. So, like, please do let us know what you read this month, and if you like this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, the stuff. And we'll see you in the next one.
See you later.
Bye.